Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They mocked humanity as weak until our patience ran out. The silence of space felt like a living thing aboard the exploration vessel Beacon. Lieutenant Mara Kendall stood on the observation deck, watching distant stars drift past. She had served in the United Earth Diplomatic Corps for 9 years, learning to keep calm even when her heart thundered. Now she led the Beacon on its first mission beyond known star lanes, peaceful contact with the Aranth, a species rumored to be both proud and ruthless. Behind her, the soft hum of life support systems mingled with the distant rush of the vessel's engines. Mara's crew, 50 strong, prepared for first contact. Officers calibrated sensors, while communications specialists ran final checks on universal translators. In the command center, Commander Isaac Liu leaned over a hollow display, confirming orbital insertion parameters around Aranth Prime. Lieutenant, his voice crackled through the comlink. We're in position. Atmospheric readings stable, ready on your mark. Mara inhaled, steadying herself. Thank you, Commander. Beacon, this is Kendall. Initiate contact sequence Alpha. She paused, then added softly, and remember, we're here to learn, not provoke. The beacon's forward array trilled, sending a pulse of harmonized frequencies toward the Aranth capital. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sky above the planet rippled as alien ships emerged from hidden docks, surrounding the beacon in formation. Their sleek obsidian hulls glinted under an alien sun. A single vessel detached itself and approached the beacon's communication window. A translucent shimmer preceded the appearance of the Aranth envoy, a tall, lithe figure whose silver-blue skin caught the sunlight. Its eyes, narrow and inscrutable, studied Mara through the reinforced glass. Humans, the envoy's voice echoed in the comm system, weighted with curiosity and disdain. You traverse so far for ambition or desperation. Mara met its gaze. We come in peace to build understanding and friendship. Her tone remained even. The Aranth's lips curved in a slow, dismissive smile. Friendship, you fragile creatures revere diplomacy because you lack strength. Your history is a tapestry of conflict and surrender. Why should we honor such weakness? A hush fell over Beacon's bridge. The envoy's words stung, carrying the gravest insult in galactic civil etiquette, accusing an entire species of weakness. Yet Mara held firm. Strength takes many forms, she replied. We have learned that cooperation and resilience can achieve what force alone cannot. Perhaps you underestimate us. The Aranth laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Underestimate? No, we know plenty. Tell me, Lieutenant, how long before your people break under real pressure? Mara's jaw tightened. Behind her, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. Many had hoped for a cordial exchange. Instead, they faced scorn. You will see, Mara said softly. We welcome this chance to prove our worth. The Aranth envoy's eyes narrowed. We shall enjoy watching your descent into chaos. With that, it turned and signaled. Unseen vessels flickered into the void, receding into hidden docking bays. The window repaired its transparency and the bridge returned to its routines. Mara lowered her stance, heart still pounding. Commander Liu placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Mara, that was rough, but good response. You stayed calm. She nodded, exhaling. They wanted a reaction. Next time we'll be ready. Her mind raced. The Aranth had openly mocked humanity. This was no mere diplomatic misunderstanding. It was a test and an insult. Down the corridor, scientist Rahim Alpha had met her with a data pad. Lieutenant, I've got preliminary scans of their defense grid. They've relied on brute force for centuries, but their network has blind spots. We could probe them once we're deeper into orbit. Mara glanced at the schematics. Good work, but be discreet. At the moment, they only see us as weak. Let's keep it that way for now. Behind them, the crew moved with renewed purpose. Engineer Tessa Ramos ran simulations on Beacon's quantum drives, Communications Officer Elan Wu fine-tuned translation matrices, and Security Chief Jard Cole sharpened tactical protocols. Each man and woman readied themselves for challenges unseen. As the Beacon settled into orbit, Mara returned to the observation deck. The Aranth capital lay below, crystalline towers, floating platforms, and telltale signs of hidden armadas. Beyond the diplomatic chamber's polite facades, she sensed a storm gathering. Yet in her heart, a quiet flame burned. Earth had faced hardship before: plagues, wars, near extinction. Humanity rose again, each time with fresh resolve. They had survived predators on a savage planet, mastered diseases, unlocked the stars. And now they would face the Aranths. Mara leaned forward, pressing her palm to the cool glass. She whispered, "We are not weak." The stars beyond flickered in response, as if echoing her vow. The storm had awakened, and humanity's patience was running out. The beacon slipped silently through the Aranth system under the cover of its stealth field. Lieutenant Mara Kendall stood beside scientist Rahim Alfahed in the command center, watching streams of data flood their displays. "Their orbital defenses are impressive," Rahim said, eyes glued to a holographic model of concentric energy rings and laser turrets. "But I've found small gaps, lines of sight between relay satellites where our probes can slip through undetected." Mara nodded, her fingers tapping the edge of the console. "Deploy one prototype probe," she ordered. "We need real readings on their grid strength and fast." Rahim activated the launch sequence. Outside, a slender dart of a drone slipped free from Beacon's Bay, its dark hull reflecting starlight as it vanished toward the Aranth homeworld. As the crew held their breath, Communications Officer Elan Wu transmitted a cultural goodwill broadcast. A soft Aranth melody drifted through the vessel's speakers, chosen for its reputation to soothe tension. "They'll recognize this from their own records," Elan explained. "It's like offering a peace token," Mara approved. "Let them hear Earth's respect," she said, even though the envoy's last greeting had been anything but courteous. Meanwhile, engineer Tessa Ramos and security chief Jard Cole prepared for potential combat scenarios. Tessa's adaptive armor prototypes glowed faintly on the holotable, lightweight plates that hardened instantly on impact. Jard ran simulations of boarding actions and hit-and-run strikes. "If they try anything," he said, "we'll be ready." Mara appreciated his caution but reminded him, "Our goal remains peaceful contact. Only use force if we must defend ourselves." Hours later, the probe returned. Rahim studied its encrypted feed. "Their network relies on a central quantum hub near the polar research arrays. If we can disrupt that, their entire defense grid goes dark for at least 12 minutes. Mara leaned forward. 12 minutes is enough time to make our point fast, precise, and non-lethal." She authorized Rahim to integrate the quantum disruptor module into Beacon's stealth pod. The small vessel would slip through the defense gap, fire a silent pulse at the hub, and vanish before sensors reactivated. It was a bold move, one step short of outright aggression, but Mara believed a demonstration of capability might earn them respect where words had failed. That evening, Beacon's diplomatic lounge hosted a cultural exchange ceremony. Aranth delegates arrived in their flowing ceremonial robes, their bioluminescent tattoos pulsing gently. Mara greeted Elder Envoy Selvar, whose earlier insult still burned in her memory. She offered a simple bowl of earth water infused with lunar minerals, a human gesture of purity and respect. Selvar accepted with a flicker of curiosity but made no comment. The room filled with soft conversation. Aranth recited poetry about starlight rivers, while Earth's crew shared tales of climbing mountain peaks on a blue planet. Rahim described the simplicity of a desert sunrise, eliciting nods from the Aranth who revered sublime landscapes. Yet beneath the polite chatter, Mara sensed lingering condescension. Their hosts praised Earth's devotion to art but never acknowledged human strength. As the ceremony ended, Selvar approached Mara privately. "Your people are enchanting," he murmured, "but still so gentle. How long before you break?" His tone was almost playful, but his words carried a knife's edge. Mara met his gaze evenly. "Gentle does not mean weak," she replied. "We've endured trials you cannot imagine." Selvar nodded once and stepped away, leaving Mara's resolve steeled rather than shaken. That night, Rahim and Tessa worked side by side in the hangar bay. The stealth pod gleamed under fluorescence, its disruptor array humming with potential energy. "This will change their perception," Rahim said, adjusting calibration dials. Tessa watched the prototype armor plating charge in her hand. "And if it does?" she asked. Rahim smiled wryly. "Then at least we'll know where we stand." Early the next morning, Beacon slipped into position. Mara, Commander Isaac Liu, and Jard gathered in the tactical briefing room. Holomaps of Aranth Prime rotated slowly as Rahim outlined the plan. Pod launch at 600 hours, approach from the night side, align with latitude 74 north, pulse the hub, then withdraw. No casualties, no permanent damage, only a clear message. "Do not mistake our courtesy for weakness." Mara studied each face around the table. They were ready. "Execute," she said quietly. Outside, the stealth pod launched with barely a whisper. Aboard, pilot Nora Kim steered through the inky void, guided by Rahim's nav beacons. Sensors blinked as the central hub loomed, a towering crystalline spire crackling with energy. Nora held her breath and pressed the trigger. A focused quantum filament shot forth, slicing through the hub's field. The spire's lights flickered and died, its power grid collapsing in a silent cascade. Within seconds, the pod veered away, slipping into concealed lanes. In Beacon's command center, alarms fluttered as Aranth satellites reported localized outages. Screens showed the hub's glow flickering out, then returning after 12 minutes, just as Rahim had predicted. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Mara stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We await your transmission, Aranth Council. We have demonstrated what happens when humans stop being polite." Back on Aranth Prime, the ceremonial hall fell silent as Selvar's comm device crackled to life. "This is unprecedented," his voice echoed. "The humans they warn." Mara patted Rahim on the shoulder. "That's all we needed. Let's see how they respond." As the beacon prepared for the next diplomatic session, Mara looked out at the alien skyline. Shadows of defiance rippled across her crew's faces. They had shown strength hidden beneath their diplomatic masks, and in doing so they had begun to shift the balance of perception. The Aranth would no longer view humanity as mere pets to be mocked. They would see a force unlike any other, a species whose patience ran deeper than any reservoir, but whose resolve could shatter worlds when provoked. The frontier colony of Oris was bathed in the warm glow of its twin suns when the first Aranth patrol ships appeared on the horizon. Mara Kendall monitored the feeds from Beacon's long-range sensors, her jaw set. The colony had sent urgent distress signals. Aerodynamic fighters strafed farming domes and energy beams cut into habitat shields. "They're targeting civilians," she said, voice tight. "We can't let this stand." Behind her, Commander Isaac Liu tapped his console. "We're 80,000 kilometers out. Teleport insertion is too risky under their patrol net, but we can bring them in by stealth shuttle. Nora's ready." Mara nodded. "Assemble the team. We move at once." In the hangar bay, pilot Nora Kim checked over a modified shuttle hull, its stealth plating and adaptive armor freshly tuned. Security Chief Jard Cole loaded non-lethal breaching charges, while engineer Tessa Ramos sealed compartments against particle beam fire. Scientist Rahim Alpha had calibrated handheld disruptor rifles. Each piece of equipment represented human creativity at its finest. Lightweight hull alloys developed for asteroid prospecting repurposed into armor, and energy modulators once meant for peaceful mining turned into field disruptors. "Ready when you are," Nora said, strapping in. Mara climbed into the co-pilot seat, fastening her harness. "Remember," she told the crew, "our goal is to protect the colonists and drive the Aranth out without mass casualties. We show them we're not weak, but we're not monsters." The shuttle slipped from Beacon's Bay under cloak, tracing a low approach vector against Oris's glare. Below, the colony's geodesic domes glinted like pearls on a sapphire sea. Mara's heart ached at the first sight of smoke rising from the outer farmlands. "They're hitting the water tanks," she whispered. "Those people have no backup." Nora brought the shuttle into a silent hover above the main habitat ring. Mara opened the hatch by hand, letting a rush of warm air and dust swirl in. Jard led the way down the ramp, disruptor rifle held at the ready. Behind him, Rahim and Tessa followed, each moving with steady purpose. Inside the habitat, terrified colonists huddled in supply corridors. Mara moved among them, offering calm words. "We're here to help," she said, voice firm. She gestured toward an open breach in the biodome. "Follow us to the shuttle, stay low and keep quiet." But as they guided refugees out, Aranth drones swept through the shadows. Spotting the humans, they opened fire with blue-white beams. Tessa shouted and fired her disruptor rifle, sending a pulse that overloaded drone circuits in a flash. The little machines collapsed, sparks dancing like dying fireflies on the floor. Jard detonated a breaching charge on a sealed door, clearing a path for the colonists to flee. The air crackled with energy and fear, but the humans moved with practiced efficiency, shepherding civilians through smoke and debris, shielding them with improvised barriers. Mara spotted an Aranth officer barking orders in guttural tones. She raised her voice. "Stop that attack," the officer spun, weapon drawn. Without hesitating, Mara lunged, knocking the rifle aside and pinning him. Her uniform's adaptive armor absorbed the impact of his energy blade before it even grazed her. She held him at arm's length. "You will not hurt innocents," she said, eyes icy, "or we will make you regret it." The officer hesitated, confusion mingling with anger. From behind, Rahim and Tessa cuffed his wrists. Mara released him, stepping back. "Escort him to the shuttle. He'll answer questions there." The officer spat, but did as he was told, his fury quelled by the sudden realization that these humans did not flinch under threat. Outside, colonists poured toward the waiting shuttle under Nora's cover fire. Each time an Aranth trooper ventured from cover, Tessa's disruptor pulses knocked them back. Rahim used his medical kit to tend to wounded civilians, his steady hands a balm against panic. As the last group boarded, Mara realized the Aranth had reinforced their attack. Dreadnought-class frigates emerged from orbit, energy cannons locked on the shuttle. "Evasive maneuvers now," she ordered. Nora engaged the adaptive cloaking system and the shuttle flickered out of sight, vanishing beneath the planet's shadow like a ghost. Beacon's hangar bay doors opened before Nora could call for extraction. The shuttle glided in, releasing a cloud of pigment smoke that concealed its exit. Inside, colonists wept and thanked their rescuers. Mara offered water and blankets, her expression gentle. "You're safe now," she said. "We'll take you home." But as crew and refugees disembarked, Rahim approached Mara with a grim look. Their frigates attacked Arctic supply domes next. They're hitting civilians everywhere. Mara's eyes narrowed with resolve. "Then we turn their terror into their undoing. We'll give them a fight they'll never forget." That evening, Beacon's strategy room glowed with tactical displays. Mara stood before a holomap showing errant garrisons and supply routes on Oris and nearby systems. "We've bought time for these colonists," she began. "But we can't keep playing defense. We need a strike that shows humanity's reach and resolve." Commander Liu tapped coordinates on the map. "Their main logistics hub is here, under the old mining crater. It's lightly guarded at night but critical for refueling their ships." "We hit that hub," Mara decided. "Disable their supply lines, then their patrols thin out, exposing their mothership's flank." She turned to her team. "We have one chance: precision, speed, no civilian risk zones, understand?" Each member nodded. They had seen what human ingenuity could achieve, everything from adaptive armor to stealth probes. Now they would use that same creativity in full force. Rahim would handle the disruptor charges, Tessa would manage electromagnetic shields to block their scanners, Nora would pilot under maximum stealth, and Jard would lead tactical entry. The plan took shape under the soft hum of the hollow projector. When it ended, Mara looked at them all with pride. "Tonight, the Aranth learned that humans resist, and we do it with courage and invention. Get ready." As the team dispersed, Mara lingered for a moment, gazing at the colony manifest pinned to the wall, the names of every evacuee aboard Beacon. She traced a finger over a child's name and whispered, "For every one of you we fight." The embers of resistance glowed across their faces, ready to ignite into a blaze that would burn away any doubt of human strength. The United Earth Coalition convened aboard the planetary defense station Aegis, a massive orbital fortress arrayed above Terra Nova. Admiral Sophia Reyes stood on the command deck, her posture radiating confidence as she surveyed the holomaps of the Aranth supply network. Fleets of human ships, sleek cruisers and corvettes bristling with adaptive armor and quantum disruptors, orbited in precise formation. Behind her, Lieutenant Mara Kendall and scientist Rahim Al-Fahad exchanged determined glances. "Admiral," Mara began, stepping forward, "our strike on the Oris logistics hub crippled their supply lines. Patrol strength has fallen by nearly 60% across the system. We can press the advantage now." Reyes nodded, her dark braids swinging over her shoulder. "Agree. The Coalition Council has approved limited offensives to secure neutral worlds. Our next target is their secondary depot at Thorix Station. Rahim, Tessa, and Nora will lead another stealth operation. But this time we hit deeper, disable their armor plants and communications repeater array." Rahim's eyes glowed with purpose. "I've refined the disruptor charges to sever molecular bonds more precisely. We can target critical reactor conduits without destroying the entire facility. Communications backhaul will be down for days, leaving them blind." Tessa Ramos, standing ready in her engineering uniform, tapped her datapad. "I'll upgrade our stealth shields with the new phase shift modulators. Even their advanced sensors won't pick us up. We'll be ghosts on their grid." Nora Kim, poised by a shuttle console, smiled. "And I've plotted a route through the asteroid belt. Minimal gravity interference, maximum concealment. We'll slip in and out before they know what hit them." Reyes allowed herself a faint smile. "This is exactly why I handpicked you three, human innovation born of necessity and defiance. Make it count." Hours later, the Shadow Shuttle glowed faintly as it slipped from Aegis's hangar. Mara, Nora, Tessa, and Rahim occupied the cramped, silent cabin. Beneath them, Terra Nova rotated in endless blue-green splendor. Distant storms thundered across oceanic continents, reminders of Earth's raw power forged through millennia. "Approaching the asteroid field in 3-2-1, Nora announced. The shuttle's gravitic thrusters pulsed softly, guiding them into the drifting rock clusters. Outside, tumbling boulders formed a chaotic maze. Nora threaded the shuttle between them with surgical precision, her hands steady on the controls. Rahim studied his portable sensor array. "Thorix's outer defenses are weak, just light patrols right now. The main pressure hull is 2 clicks east. We'll drop there." Mara nodded, tightening her harness. Remember our rules of engagement: no civilian harm, precision only, disable, don't annihilate. Tessa's voice crackled in her ear. Phase shift shields active. We're invisible to thermal and M scans. They won't detect us until we're inside the compound. Their shuttle slipped through the atmosphere of a barren moon, engines muted. Below, sprawling industrial structures spanned the horizon. Towers of smog-filtered exhaust piped into alien skis. Communication arrays bristled atop steel lattices. And worst of all, convoys of armored transports lined up for refueling. Shuttle landing in 10 meters, Nora said, descending toward a vacant maintenance pad. The landing skids touched down with barely a tremor. Mara tapped her comm badge. Team, move out. They exited into the cold air, adaptive armor lightly humming as it calibrated to local pressure. Tessa deployed a holographic decoy emitter to mask their approach. Rahim hefted a crate of disruptor charges as they sprinted toward the nearest supply depot. The facility's outer wall rose 10 meters high, its surface adorned with warning sigils in unknown glyphs. Nora planted breaching charges on the control ladder. Clear, she whispered. A soft pulse and the wall dissolved, gravity rippling in its wake. They slipped inside. The air smelled of ionized metals and chemical solvents. Fluorescent turrets scanned the corridors, their optic sensors searching for intruders. Tessa activated an M-pulse emitter, frying their vision circuits for precious seconds. They dashed through the darkened hall, reaching the reactor chamber. Rahim placed a disruptor charge beneath a conduit, set for timed detonation in 60 seconds. He tapped the device's interface. We have 1 minute to retreat. Mara checked her wrist display. Good, let's make it count. She turned back toward the exit, eyes flicking to the facility's central console. An idea struck her. Wait, I can use their own systems to spread the blackout. She tapped commands into her portable uplink key. I'm uploading a virus to their network. One pulse will cascade through every repeater. Rahim raised an eyebrow. Bold, Tessa grinned. Reckless, I love it. Outside, turret batteries reactivated. Beams of green energy slammed into the chamber walls, but the disruptor shield held. Mara and her team sprinted through winding corridors as the station shuddered. Sparks flew as the reactor conduit ruptured, an overhead blast of blue energy searing through the facility's power grid. They reached the airlock just as their explosive charges detonated. A controlled implosion rocketed through the compound, collapsing reactor conduits and severing comm links. A pulse wave pulsed through the moon's crust, extinguishing every sensor array for miles. The shuttle lifted off seconds later, bursting into the black above. Behind them, Thorix Station lay crippled, dead turbines, silent comm horns, and inert defense turrets. Beautiful, Nora whispered, eyes shining. Now their galaxy-wide supply lines are in chaos. Mara allowed herself a small smile. Rising tide indeed, she keyed her comm. Beacon, this is Kendall, mission accomplished. The Aranth Empire's second logistics hub is down, prepare for extraction. Back aboard Aegis, the Coalition fleet shifted position. Human vessels, once scattered, now formed an advancing wall of shields and weapons platforms. Aranth patrols, blind and disconnected, fled in disarray. News feeds across neutral worlds carried images of human triumph. Terra Nova's storms, Novas unleashed in distant systems, and Solidarity broadcasts uniting countless human colonies. Adam Reyes addressed the Coalition Council via HoloLink. Today, humanity stands not as supplicants but as equals. Our patience has evolved into purpose. When we rise, we bring hope, and we command respect. Beneath her words lay an unmistakable warning. Humanity's tide would not recede. The Aranth would soon learn that their mockery had awakened a force as inexorable as the oceans of Terra Nova, unyielding, adaptive, and united in the belief that human ingenuity and resolve would shape the galaxy's future. The Aranth assault came without warning. In multiple systems, civilian transports and mining vessels vanished in bright blazes as energy barrages lit the void. Beacon's alert klaxon rang through every deck. Lieutenant Mara Kendall raced to the command center, where Commander Isaac Liu and Admiral Sophia Reyes stood watching the holoscreens. They've broken the fragile truce, Liu said, voice grim. Their dreadnought squadrons hit 3 human worlds simultaneously. Terra Nova, Oris, and Horizon Alpha are under siege. Reyes' face hardened. They thought they could strike fear into us, instead they've unleashed our fury. She tapped the tactical display. Mara, you and your shuttle team join the fleet at once. Rahim, prepare your disruptor module. We're going to show them why they should never underestimate humanity. Within the hour, Beacon and the United Earth Fleet moved into position near the Aura System's asteroid belt. Human cruisers formed a tight defensive perimeter, shielding civilian convoys and damaged colonies. Mara and her strike team climbed into the Shadow Shuttle, its hull bristling with the quantum disruptor and adaptive armor enhancements. "Remember our last run," Mara told Nora Kim, who piloted with calm precision. "We slip in, deliver the disruptor pulse, then we're ghosts again. But this time there's no apology. We hit them hard and we don't hold back." Tessa Ramos checked her phase shift shields, while Rahim Alpha had calibrated the disruptor's frequency to penetrate the errant dreadnought's reinforced hull. Security Chief Jard Cole secured breaching charges in case boarding became necessary. Each member knew what they faced: the errant flagship Veltris, a massive dreadnought capable of annihilating entire fleets. Outside, the human fleet engaged errant patrols. Energy lances crisscrossed the darkness in twisted patterns, capital ships trading blows in dazzling displays. Beacon sensors tracked Veltris emerging from hyperspace, its bow bristling with heavy cannons. The flagship's arrival turned the tide against the smaller human cruisers, forcing them into retreat. "We're being outgunned," Lou reported. "They're pushing us back." Reyes drew a steady breath. "Not for long, they don't know we've been saving our ace," she keyed her comm. "Mara now." The shuttle descended from the fleet's edge, weaving through volleys of fire. Nora guided them beneath the wreckage of a destroyed frigate, masking their approach. Inside, the dreadnought's fire control radars never tracked them. Mara gripped the railing as the shuttle docked on Veltris's flank, its magnetic clamps sealing them to the hull. Tessa sprang into action, deploying M dampeners that shorted nearby sensors. Rahim unlocked the disruptor pod and carried it down a servicer tunnel, following Nora's markers. Jard stood guard at the entrance, disruptor rifle poised. Mara led the way, her uniform's adaptive plating shimmering with energy. The corridor beyond was dim, humming with power conduits. Errant sentries marched in pairs, their metallic armor reflecting the weak ceiling lights. When one approached, Rahim pressed a small pulse emitter against its plating. The marine froze, circuits fried. It collapsed silently. Within seconds, the small team neutralized 3 more sentries, none awakening to raise alarm. They reached the target, the dreadnought's reactor manifold, a cluster of circular coils thrumming with quantum energy. Rahim set the disruptor on its mount, aligning the focusing crystal with the conduit's core. His hands flew over the interface. "Prime in 3, 2, 1. A blinding beam of white light lanced from the disruptor, driving deep into the manifold. The conduit buckled, groaning as energy feedback echoed down the spine of the dreadnought. Alarms screamed through the corridors, metal groaned. Mara barely had time to shout "retreat" before the hull shook violently and the pod's magnetic clamps released. They sprinted back to the shuttle as emergency bulkheads slammed behind them. Tessa rolled the M-shield bubble around them, cutting out the worst of the concussion. Nora throttled the engines and tore away from the hull, racing into the chaos of the battle outside. Behind them, the disruptor's effect bloomed. The dreadnought's reactor cores fractured, sending out cascading quantum pulses that tore through internal systems. Veltris shuddered, its hull plating peeling away as the main guns went dark. The flagship drifted, crippled, a wounded titan in the void. The fleet seized the moment. Human cruisers surged forward, flanking the disabled dreadnought. Energy beams hammered its flank until the massive warship groaned and split in two, drifting apart in a slow, terrible ballet. Dust and cables floated free, shimmering under distant starlight. Beacon's crew cheered as the flagship's remains tumbled through the void. On the command deck, Admiral Reyes allowed herself a satisfied smile. "That's one," she signaled to the fleet. "Press the advantage." Across the battle lines, errant vessels reeled in confusion. Without their dreadnought's command link, formations broke. Human squadrons, guided by nimble corvettes and swift fighters, cut through disorganized groups, protecting civilians and rescuing stranded ships. In the aftermath, Beacon's shuttle returned to the fleet. Mara and her team debriefed under the glow of distant explosions. Rahim wiped sweat from his brow. "The disruptor performed beyond specs. It's proof we don't just talk about strength, we invent it." Tessa nodded, "And when pressed, we adapt faster than they can react." Jard smiled grimly. "They'll think twice before calling us weak again." Mara looked toward Terra Nova's distant blue sphere. The cost had been high, dozens of civilian lives lost before reinforcement arrived, entire stations scarred by battle, but humanity had defended its own. They had fought with honor, using technology to minimize harm, and they had won against overwhelming odds. Later, Admiral Reyes addressed the crew in the fleet's central hub. Today, we showed the galaxy what happens when humanity's patience ends. We will not tolerate aggression or disdain. But we also proved that our strength is matched by our compassion. We defend the innocent and punish the aggressor. The crew erupted in applause. Mara felt a surge of pride. Years ago, humans had listened politely to galactic elders hoping diplomacy would protect them. Now they stood as equals among the stars. They had learned to wield both words and weapons, creativity and courage. In the quiet moments that followed, Mara retreated to Beacon's observation deck. The battle-scarred ships drifted under alien suns, and distant explosions marked the final surrender of errant pockets. She closed her eyes and whispered a promise to the galaxy. Humanity's patience is a gift, but our resolve is a weapon. May this be the dawn of a new era, one where we no longer hide behind smiles but stand proudly as who we are. The stars beyond shimmered in silent acknowledgement. Fury Unleashed had forged a path to respect, and the rising tide of human spirit would carry them into whatever challenges lay ahead. The aftermath of battle left the errant empire reeling. Across their worlds, command centers lay silent, supply lines severed, and morale shattered. In this fragile moment, Lieutenant Mara Kendall received an unexpected transmission, an invitation from Envoy Selvar to negotiate peace on Aranth Prime. The offer came with tense urgency. Selvar claimed a moderate faction sought to end hostilities before extremist forces could regroup. Mara studied the data pad in Beacon's conference room. Beside her, Commander Isaac Liu frowned. They could be luring us into a trap, he warned. Their extremists know we've broken their dreadnought. They'll fill the room with hidden weapons. Mara nodded, calm but wary. We expected that, but we can't ignore a chance for peace. Get a full security detail ready and Rahim prepare the translation protocols for formal treaty language. She turned to Admiral Sophia Reyes, joining them over a holographic table. Admiral, we need guidance. Reyes tapped her tablet. The Coalition Council authorizes this meeting under tight conditions. You'll go with a small delegation. Selvar's moderate leader, Councillor Murith, will host. Extremists like General Criesa will be kept at bay. But if talks fail, extraction is immediate. She looked at Mara with trust. You have authority to negotiate terms, be firm but open. Mara inhaled, steeling herself for the delicate task ahead. Understood, I accept. The shuttle carrying Mara, Rahim, and two trusted officers glided toward Aranth Prime. The planet's crystalline cities rose beneath a rose-tinted sky, war machines dismantled and banners torn. The shuttle landed in a wide plaza before a grand pavilion built of polished stone and glowing filaments. Selvar met them at the entrance, cloaked in subdued robes that marked him as a peace emissary rather than a warrior. Lieutenant Kendall, he greeted, bowing slightly. Welcome to Aranth Prime, Councillor Murith awaits. They entered a vast hall lined with columns and aerial gardens. At its center stood Murith, a figure of serene composure whose bioluminescent tattoos pulsed in time with her measured breath. Behind her, windows offered a panoramic view of the city's suspended walkways and distant spires. No signs of military equipment were visible, reinforcing the peaceful intent. Mara inclined her head. Councillor Murith, I appreciate this opportunity. I come representing humanity's desire for lasting peace. Murith's voice was soft but carried authority. And we honor those intentions. Many of our people suffer from the war's toll. We wish to end it before more lives are lost. She gestured to a circular table. Please sit. They took their seats, flanked by security officers, human and Aranth, eyes vigilant. Rahim activated the translation interface, ensuring every word came through clearly. For a moment, silence held, weighted by history and broken treaties. Then Mara began, humanity recognizes the wrongs committed by extremists within your empire. We extend a hand of cooperation, immediate ceasefire, withdrawal from neutral zones, and joint reconstruction efforts on key worlds like Oris and Terra Nova. She laid out a data slate showing coalition relief shipments, medical teams, and engineering brigades ready to deploy. Murith examined the slate, her eyes tracing supply routes, manpower allocations, and timelines. This is generous, but what assurances do we have that humans will not exploit this pause to rebuild military strength? She asked. Mara offered a firm smile. We propose a mutual verification protocol under neutral observers. Coalition ships will patrol at agreed distances, errant vessels will do the same. Unmanned drones equipped with non-lethal scanners monitor compliance. Transparency binds trust. Murith nodded slowly. Acceptable, and what of reparations for our destroyed infrastructure? She tapped the slate, expanding sections detailing errant repair credits and resource exchanges. Reparations will match war damages, calculated by both sides and mediated by the Galactic Council, Mara replied. We can finalize figures within one cycle. As they negotiated technical terms, Selvar and Lu exchanged discreet glances. Extremist General Criessa murmured angrily outside the pavilion, her guards clashing with the envoy's troops. The fragile calm threatened to shatter at any moment. Midway through, Murith leaned forward. Humanity saved our people from extremists' wrath, but there is another matter, the legacy of mistrust. How do we heal centuries of contempt? Mara considered this weighty question. Through shared projects, a joint academy to train diplomats and engineers, cultural exchanges spotlighting arts and histories, and annual peace summits hosted alternately on Earth and Aranth Prime, human creativity thrives on collaboration. This will bind our futures. The counselor's tattoos glowed brighter, a sign of approval. They are wise proposals, Lieutenant. We accept the framework. I will present this to the Moderate Council immediately. As Murith rose, Rahim gathered the finalized accord. Mara stood too, extending her hand. Murith grasped it with a gentle firmness. In that moment, a hopeful arc crossed the gulf between species. But before they could depart, alarms sounded. The ground trembled as distant explosions echoed through the plaza. General Criessa's forces, enraged by the peace talks, stormed the pavilion's rear gates. Selvar's guards drew energy lances, forming a defensive line. Mara's security team readied tactical disruptors. Criessa herself appeared, a towering figure of jagged armor and veiled fury. Traitors, she hissed. You invite vermin into our heart. Murith stepped between them, voice ringing. General Criessa, this meeting is sovereign ground. You violate the treaty. Criessa snarled and lunged. Mara intercepted, using her adaptive armor plating to block a savage blow. The pavilion erupted into chaos as guards clashed. Mara drew her sidearm, its barrel humming with repulsion fields. Hold your fire, we protect Counselor Murith. With a precise pulse, she overrode the armor on a charging Aranth guard working for Criessa, immobilizing him non-lethally. Lu and Selvar subdued two more attackers. Within minutes, coalition peacekeepers and Selvar's loyalists stabilized the situation. Criessa glared at Mara, breath ragged. You humans, you bring disruption even to peace. Mara held her gaze. We came for peace, but we will defend it, she motioned to Lu. Escort the counselor to safety. Murith nodded, calm under pressure, and allowed herself to be guided out. The pavilion fell silent once more, broken only by distant shouts. Criessa's forces withdrew, vanishing into side corridors. Selvar approached Mara, his expression grave. This was expected. Extremists will not relent easily. Mara exhaled, tension draining. We must finish the treaty quickly and leave before they regroup. Rahim uploaded the final accord to both sides' databases. As his interface completed, Murith re-entered, her face resolute. The treaty is sealed, she announced. A new chapter begins. She produced a crystalline seal, pressing it onto the accord, its light pulsed, symbolizing unity. Outside, peacekeepers secured the gates. Criessa and her followers were detained for tribunal. As the shuttle lifted them away, Mara looked down at Aranth Prime's spires. The calm had shattered, almost costing them everything. Yet from that turmoil emerged a stronger pact, brittle but real. Back aboard Beacon, Admiral Reyes greeted them. Well done, you risked more than anyone else to secure this peace. She studied Mara's tired face. Rest now, tomorrow we begin reconstruction. Mara allowed herself a tired smile. Peace is only the start, healing is the real challenge. She looked at the stars beyond. In the quiet that followed, she believed that humanity and the Aranth could rise from embers of war into dawn of cooperation if both sides remembered the price of shattered calm.